Wow. Can everybody hear me? You're good to go. All right. Murner Fieldhouse actually has sound thanks to the Gregory family. For the first time in 95 years, you can hear, right? Can you hear me? All right. Awesome. Thank you, Gregory family. There's a gift from them. My name's Jim Miller. I'm the athletic director here at North Central College. The year was 1966, and a quite young-looking Al Carius was hired by North Central College right out of grad school, following a decorated running career at the University of Illinois. It turned out to be the only full-time job he would ever hold. Today, we come together for this celebration of life, recognizing our great friend, mentor, leader, coach, husband, father figure, and inspirational influence. A gathering of family and friends is so fitting to honor Al. We'd like to start our celebration by welcoming to the podium President Goki Periola, known as GP. GP has been a professor, provost, and president for his entire 49-plus year tenure in higher education. In true Cardinal spirit, he has become an avid sports fan this past year, especially since his daughter is a member of our women's cross-country team. GP?
Thank you, Jim. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here today. Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Frank, for all you have done to make today possible. Thank you, Pam, and the rest of the Carius family for allowing us this occasion to come together as a cardinal family to celebrate Al. For those of you who do not know me, I have to say my name actually the way it's said. My name is Abiodun Goke Pariola, and I have the great honor of serving as president of North Central College. As Jim said, prior to serving as president, I was the college's provost and vice president for academic affairs for 9 years. And it was at that time that I was privileged to call Al a colleague and to understand all he did and all that he means to North Central College. What an incredible honor to see this historic field house and Gregory Arena filled with Al's family, former athletes, friends, colleagues, fellow coaches, and so many others. I know that many of you traveled a long distance to be here today. The love, spirit, and joyfulness in this building today is a great tribute to a great man, a man who has had a lasting impact on so many of us. It has been said that over its more than 160-year history, North Central College has had 12 presidents and Al Carius. I stand here as one of those 12 presidents, and the college's 9th president, Har Wilde, is here with us today. I think that Al will agree that it will be challenging to name another figure who has had a larger impact on North Central College than Al Carius. Al was best known for being a coach, and he was indeed one of the greatest of all time. But on this campus, he was so much more. He was a teacher, a mentor, and a leader. It may not be well known that Al spent nearly 20 years as the college's athletics director. He will be the first to admit that it was not his favorite job at North Central College. He much preferred to focus on his coaching and teaching, but he did it because he believed in the power and the promise of North Central College. Early in his tenure as athletics director, the college faced some challenging times in the 1970s when it struggled to keep its doors open. It was during those difficult times that Al, not alone, but as part of a team of faculty and staff members, played a critical role in helping the institution pull through with its positive energy, creative ideas, and visionary leadership. Our athletics facilities are filled with banners and trophies that pay tribute to Al's legacy as a winning coach. But his influence extended far beyond to all corners of the campus. He was a talented teacher within the college's Leadership, Ethics, and Values program, a motivational speaker who would jump at the chance to speak to any group, club, or classroom that invited him. And he was also a proud first-generation college graduate who loved sharing his story and words of wisdom with other first-generation students here at North Central College. North Central College will not be the same without Al Carius. Yet, North Central College is better because of him. During his nearly 6 decades here, Al's influence was so strong, and the people who were inspired by him so many, that he will always be a part of who we are and what we do as an institution. Thank you, Al. May you rest in peace. It is now my pleasure to introduce Scott Worley, a 1991 graduate of North Central College and the mayor of Naperville. Mayor Worley is here to offer a welcome and to issue a proclamation on behalf of the city of Naperville.
Thank you, GP. It is a privilege to be here today and honor the life and legacy of Coach Alan B. Al Carius with a proclamation. And it reads, whereas it is with sadness that we mourn the loss of legendary Coach Alan B. Carius of Naperville, who passed from his earthly home on September 9th, 2025, after a long and courageous battle with cancer. And whereas it is with gratitude that we celebrate Al's remarkable achievements as coach and mentor. And whereas Al Carius served as head men's cross-country coach at North Central College in Naperville for nearly 6 decades, leading his teams to 19 NCAA Division III national championships, 16 national runner-up finishes, and 4th place or better at 42 out of 47 NCAA Division III championship appearances. And where Al Carius served as head or assistant men's track and field coach, overseeing 12 NCAA Division III indoor or outdoor team national championships, in addition to serving as North Central College's Director of Athletics from 1971 to 77 and from 1980 to 1993. And whereas Al Carius was recognized as one of the most successful collegiate coaches in the country, regardless of sport or division, including being named Coach of the Century by his coaching peers, National Cross Country Coach of the Year 12 times, and National Track and Field Coach of the Year twice by the United States Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association. And whereas Al had immeasurable influence on countless student athletes, fellow coaches, friends in college with his run for fun and personal best coaching philosophy, and his example as a mentor for motivation that motivated through encouragement, integrity, and love. Now therefore, I, Scott Worley, Mayor of the City of Naperville, do hereby proclaim the 21st day of September 2025 as Coach Al Carius Day in the City of Naperville, and encourage all to honor his extraordinary legacy, reflect on the lives he inspired, and celebrate the enduring spirit of excellence, humility, and joy he brought to sport and community alike. And now it's my privilege and great honor to introduce President Emeritus Hal Wilde.
The first time I met Al Carius was 35 years ago in this building on that track. It was the first day I came to be interviewed at North Central College. And Al and I ran around the track and ran around the track and ran around the track and ran around the track. And by the time I finished that run, I said, I sure as hell hope they picked me to be the president of this college. If everyone's like Al Carius, this is the greatest place in the world. The last time I heard from Al Carius was shortly before his death. I got a text. I'm not smart enough to know how to send text, but he was. He sent me a text, and it ended with, I love you, Hal. I'm 80 years old. I can't remember any man who wasn't a family member who ever said, I love you, Hal. And I thought about it. And I thought about the key to what made Al so extraordinary, which is he didn't just love me, he loved all of you. He loved everyone who ran for him. He loved running. He loved North Central College. He loved life. And that love is what I will cherish for the rest of my life, and I hope all of us will cherish it as well. He gave us his love, and for that, I will always be very, very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'd like to provide some reflections from former student athlete Bob Dunphy, Bob is a class of 1985. Bob Dunphy holds the distinction as the only cross-country runner in the history of North Central College to be an All-American 4 years in a row, placing in the top 10 in the country all 4 years. Two other people were four-time All-Americans, Jeff Milliman and Darren Bishop. That's the trivia question. He's the one that's oftentimes not remembered. Darren Bishop, four-timer, but Bob Dunphy, top 10. Recently, Bob has been holding podcasts interviewing Al and Frank, providing others a glimpse into their coaching philosophy. Bob?
Thank you all. Thank you, Jim. Woo. Is that okay? Okay. This is daunting and impressive, and it's a thrill to be here. Jim, thank you. You just saved 2 minutes of my time. I got back because you did the intro, so perfect. Before we begin, just take a moment and look around, do like a 180 each way, and just look at this setting around you and take this in. You know, we were talking before the discussion started about, you know, we've been to memorials before where we have multiple generations represented, right? But I'm gonna fill your egos for a second. We got a room full of who's here. And this is incredible. And we got a bloodline tied to the guy we're here to celebrate today, and that's our friend Al. And we're all so grateful for that. So one more quick applause for our dear friend, our brother, Alan, all right? So there's one more thank you that we really want to give, and that is to Al's family, to Pam, Al's children. Got it. Al's in-law children, his grandchildren, his extended family that's here. We got to thank you guys for sharing him with all of us all these decades. As we get older and a little gray hair, it starts to sink in with what that's about. And we get it. It's a sacrifice, but we're confident that you look around and realize, you know what? We have all been enriched because of that sharing. So thank you one more time. Sorry. All right, I'm sweating it out up here for you guys. I'm sure some of you have noticed my very stylish, article of clothing here. You're thinking, wait a second, the Grammy years, we got all this cool clothing. Why in the hell are you wearing that thing? I won't bore you with the story. But, 4.5 decades ago, 44 years ago, almost to the week probably, Al gave me this per my request. Of course, the condition it was in when I saw it was actually worse than this. It had bits of rust and dirt and all sorts of stuff. And quote unquote, when I asked him if I could have it, he said, "You want that thing? You can have it, take it," right? I'm wearing it today because I wanted to do something, even small, to let all of you alumni know I'm trying to represent all of you today with a few words. And I know I'll fall short of what you're feeling and thinking, but I'm going to do my best, and I thank you for that. So, okay, my topic. We all know that it's impossible to sum up in a handful of minutes what it's like to have been a student athlete and have Al as your coach and mentor. Here's the great news. We've got several awesome documentaries that have been produced and filmed and are out there for all of us, right? And in addition, we've got some great essays that have been written over the years by a lot of those same alum. Many of those guys are here today. And so I implore you to take a look at those. Most recently, shortly after Al's passing, the internet and email were abuzz with an essay written by our own Ryan Root from the class of 2014, which he simply entitles Farewell Al. It's a great piece. It's not a long read. It gives tremendous insights from one of Al's more recent athletes about what it's like to have him as your coach, mentor, and friend. So please take a listen to that. I'm not going to totally cop out. I want to focus in on one thing, one aspect that I think most of the alum will agree you couldn't avoid with Al. If you weren't going to be a part of this, you weren't going to come here. And that was simply this. Al was absolutely on fire and passionate about the team aspect of sport. Again, no new news here, right? But I think it's worth noting, and you'll understand why in a minute, why we want to focus on that for a few minutes today. He couldn't get enough of team. He didn't care if it was a picture of a few of his athletes running stride by stride in a big race, as simple as that, all the way to him being in the mosh pit with all of us and all the fans and all of the athletes celebrating a victory together. He just couldn't get enough of it. It's like he had an unquenchable appetite for team experience. And if you didn't get that and didn't want that, frankly, you may have fallen short of your expectations here, okay? And so that passion he wanted us to have as well, because he really, truly wanted each of us to experience what it was like, in his words, to be in the knowing at one time in our lives. And so I think we can safely say he achieved that for all of us, right? So, it's okay. So teams clearly are a cornerstone for him. We know that. His teams evolved in recent years, and new teams emerged. One of his treasured teams that he was a part of for a very long time was his his buddies that met a few days a week upstairs in the weight room here, the Noon Club. You guys became medicine for his soul. And if you didn't get to see him be a part of that in the last handful of months of his life, there was no mercy. The last time I showed up was in the winter, and it was Al's turn to bench. And it was the bar. What was that, 35 pounds? 45 pounds. And you got Miller is in his face, and Heller is spotting for him, and Jim's like, "You got another one, Carius, let's go, let's go." And I'm thinking, what are you doing to him? Holy cow, but you know what? He did it. And he was exhausted afterward. Pam, he probably came home and took a 3-hour nap, but you know what? Again, that was medicine for him. And it was just so cool to observe that. Another team that kind of evolved, I have to share a short story with you. So shortly after, sometime after Al's diagnosis, he and I grabbed a coffee in town at Starbucks, and as you can imagine, the conversation was a little serious, and this is for Al here right now, by the way. I said, I can't remember my words exactly. I said, Al, what's this going to be about now? What do you want to do? What do you want to do with your time? And this first comment flowed so naturally from his mouth, and you've heard it. Anybody who's listened to the podcast or the videos from our team, you know he said it many times. He said, "Bob, here's the deal. I need people to know that are close to me and that I love to know my faith is good. And don't look at Pam when you're up here. I need people to, this is Al, I need people to know that I really trust and love my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I just feel in my heart things are going to work out okay." That was point one. Second one flowed right after. And I got to spend as much time with my family as they're willing to have me. The third point was the vague one, and you already heard it evolved into this little posse of people that pulled together and did these video chats with a lot of really modern technology. Right here. Sorry, Kenny, we never upgraded, buddy. But, you know, there's something poetic about it for him to do it that simply, and they were a joy for him. And we'd stop the filming, and every time we'd end one, he'd say, we got to do another one. When can we do another one? When somebody asks, Al, we'll do another one, okay? You know, but they were a lifeline for him, for us, for a lot of people. Some 80 episodes later, we wrapped up, and I'm going to stop here because two things. Number one, he wished we could do one for everybody, every alum. He would say it all the time. Eventually, he knew that was too tall of an order. And he knew his message to everybody had to show and demonstrate. He was thinking of all of us, right? Second thing, we're going to talk about the last podcast we did a few days before Al's passing. What you're going to hear in a minute is that last minute and a half. No better voice than his to talk about it and share it. Please listen closely as you hear what we always gave him, which we affectionately referred to as, Al, you get the final word. So can we play that tape now?
Listen to his words. Al, close it up for us.
Well, hey, you know, you guys have said it all, but, you know, the thing is, when you get, you know, on in life, you start realizing, again, we've said it many, many times, we're all a part of a big team called life. And, you know, nobody's bigger than that, and nobody's going to get through it by themselves. You need your teammates in life to be able to navigate through the challenges and difficulties, the good times, the challenging times. But it really makes you appreciate what it's all about. It's about us being together and being, what we always put our hands together at the end of a meet, beginning of a meet, beginning of a practice, and that is saying the word team. Team is not a word. Team is a deep down commitment to one another and a feeling to one another. And so the thank you goes to each and every one of you, because you can't get to where you are, nobody can, without everybody that has been a part of their life. I guarantee you that is the God's, truth. So thank you guys for everything you've done for me and, and for the program and for each other. I love you.
We love you, Al.
I love you, Al. Love you too.
Thanks, fellas.
All right. We're signing off.
And we all love you, Al. And because we do, we're going to honor his wishes from that little message. Jackson, could you come up for a second? You heard Al talk about one of his favorite ways to demonstrate symbolically passion for team and unity for team. We're going to do that right now. Get uncomfortable, get your guard down. We can't all get together and do the hands. But what we can do, put an arm on a shoulder. That was always acceptable. Let's do it now while we get Jackson. Come on, team. Everybody, come on. We're going to get our little team. This is Al's grandson, Jackson Carius. He's a freshman cross-country runner here at North Central. And he's going to count us off 1, 2, 3 team, and we're all going to be with him in unison, okay? Here we go, buddy. You take it.
Team on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Team! All right, buddy. Nice job, man. Way to go. Way to go. Hey, I got a gift for you. Oh, yeah. You're going to keep her there. Thank you.
Wow. Ken Popejoy is a very, very, very well-known name in the runner's world in Illinois and across the country. Ken served 11 years as an assistant coach for the Cardinals, starting with the NCAA National 1982 team that will be inducted October 4th in our Athletics Hall of Fame. Ken was a state champion runner at Glenbard West and a national champion runner at Michigan State. He still serves as a circuit court judge in DuPage County. Coach Ken Popejoy.
This is amazing. Totally awe-inspiring and totally expected. To Al's family, yes, I join what Bob said. Thank you for sharing him with us. He truly blessed so many lives. To Bob Dunphy, to Frank Gramroso, to Brent Carius, thank you for letting me share the podium with all of you. I feel very inadequate in so many ways to do this. I've been asked to kind of stay in my lane and talk about assistant coaches. Tough to stay in my lane with Al Carius. It's tough to stay in my lane for me. I can't stop talking half the time. And nobody tells me to stop since I'm a judge. But I do want to say what an honor it is to speak about Al in this lane on behalf of those assistant coaches that were able to be with him. This is going to be hard on me, so excuse me in advance. I first met Al 60 years ago. Stagg Field, University of Chicago, the original track. He was one of the premier steeplechasers in the United States. I was an 87-pound freshman from Glenbard West. Heard about Chicago Track Club. My coach took us down there. Heard all about Ted Hayden, run for fun. Hey, let's go down, run a track meet. Well, I saw Al Carius there win the steeplechase, the epitome of run for fun. Ted Hayden was the individual that came up with that clause for Chicago Track Club, run for fun. And Al certainly lived it. I made a point to go up and introduce myself to him because he was such a god to me when I first met him, much less what he became since. And we warmed down together. He had a smile on his face. He had a smile in his heart. Truly one of the most precious people I've ever met. But Al took run for fun one step further. He added, and for personal best. Now why? Because Al thought that was a necessary alternative to always being judged as a winner. He didn't like people being judged whether you won or not. But did you do your best? That's what Al added to that famous Ted Hayden clause. Al was a true disciple of Ted Hayden and continued on all of the aspects of fun, enjoyment, and competition that Ted Hayden planted the seed in him for. Al wrote, in a direct quote from him, "The real goal for athletes should be to continually improve yourself, regardless of winning." End of quote. Why do you think we had 50 or 60 cross-country runners every year? Only 7 got to run the national championship. But that's wrong. That's my Division I mentality. 7 run the national championship. No, every single one of those guys on that team were running the national championship, because those guys wouldn't be there without every single runner on those teams. And did all those runners win races during the season? No, very few. That's why it's run for fun and personal best. Al often, he just loved Ralph Waldo Emerson. He was just a nut about him, quoted him all the time, all the different circumstances he could find. But one of them in particular kind of laid out his coaching foundation. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, quote, "Our chief want is someone who will inspire us to be what we know we can be." End of quote. Well, that's the environment that Al created. That's the environment that any assistant coach that helped him walked into, and that's the one that we all kept to perpetuate. In the early 80s, my life was in turmoil. I had huge personal disappointments and failures. I had a very unsatisfying end to my own athletic career, and I wasn't very fulfilled in my job as a lawyer. I needed to find a safe place, an enriching place, an unquestioning place, and an inspiring place. So in 1982, I showed up at his office, right out to the right there, and asked him, "Can I come down and work out? I just need something to do to get my head in the right spot." And he said, "Sure you can. You can also be my assistant coach. I need one." I said, "Al, I can't be an assistant coach. First of all, my life's a mess. Second of all, I'm still trying to be a lawyer. I have a little daughter. I have some other obligations. I can't be down here every Monday and Wednesday and travel every weekend." He says, "Sure you can. Let's do it." He held his hand out. I reached for his hand. He hugged me instead. I was there for 11 years as a volunteer assistant coach, truly enriched, truly inspired by Al Carius and every single one of you North Central College athletes who are here today. There were a few assistants before me. There were many more to follow. Nearly 100 people helped out Al during cross-country and track seasons. Why? Well, truly, most of them were North Central runners who simply didn't want to leave. They didn't want to leave this atmosphere, this excitement, this dynamics, this love, this unquestioning value. And they stayed because they loved it so much. Add to that over another 250 of his athletes who did leave, but didn't really want to stop what they had found at North Central. So what did they do? They did just like Al did from Ted Hayden. They took Al Carius and took off being disciples for Al. Because their careers were a further extension of everything that they had learned from Al, just as Al did with Ted Hayden. Now think of that. That's over 350 people, probably light in the number, but in a cross-country vernacular, that's 50 teams of 7 runners. Became coaches and are coaching today. You know, in my, this word gets bad. In my final moments with Al, 2 days before he passed, he bemoaned the present state of college athletics and competitive running. And I touched his head, and his eyes looked at me, and I said, Al, don't bemoan that. You have your legacy. You have your reflection. You have your enrichment of the coaching community. Why did they name the Division III Coach of the Year Award the Al B. Carius Award? Because it was his legacy. And I said, Al, everyone who learned from you, everyone who developed their craft from you is continuing your legacy, and it will continue on. He smiled. He said, I love you. He closed his eyes. You know, all of us assistant coaches, we got to travel a lot with Al and soaking up our one-on-one times with him. He was our coach. He was our dad. He was our friend. He was our mentor. He was everything. He was everything I wanted to be as a human being. He and I, a few years ago, though, did take a drive down to Morton because he loved his drives down to Morton. He never went through the expressways. He loved going down Route 24 and Route 16. We stopped in El Paso and looked at the Elms restaurant, which is almost falling over now, but he went to all the time. We went to Gridley, where he ran the first night track meets. We went to Eureka, where he played basketball games. We went by his mom and dad's favorite restaurant, the Busy Corner. And we went to Kennel Lake. Kennel Lake was a 6-mile loop south of Morton that overlooked the lights of Morton that he saw on his runs many, many times. We had a beautiful day together, and I want to read one passage from his book because it really stated what he always felt on these trips and what he also stated to me when we were together on our trip. He would say, quote, I recall especially what I learned about myself on Kennel, viewing the distant glowing lights of Morton. Call it visualization or call it practice. The pictures I created in my mind during these runs became my reality for countless races and helped me develop my own competitive response to the conditions and the outcomes of future competitions. In short, I created, and Al said these exact words to me. I created the outcome for future races by what I thought I became on those training runs. I became these runs, and I wanted to become a runner. I didn't really know it at the time, but I was confirming again his old friend Emerson, who said, quote, a great part of courage is the courage of having done the thing before. End of quote. You know, I felt it appropriate to bring Al's words in. I didn't know Bob was going to also bring Al's words in. But what is so appropriate is that for Al's words to be spoken here, is that Al is here. He is in this entire room. He is engulfing every single one of us. He loves every single one of us. He's telling every single one of us to be at peace because he is. He has been such a dominant part in all of our lives. Many different ways, many similar ways. But he is a large part of who we were, who we are, and who we are going to become. I'm going to sum up with one last quote from Al, which always meant a lot to me about his coaching style and his coaching not as cross-country runners, but as a life coach. Because didn't we learn so much about life from Al outside of Lincoln Park, outside of the golf courses? He taught us so much. He mentored us in so many ways. Al said, quote, "Whatever we want to become, we need to create first in our mind with a personal goal, and then nurture and reinforce what we see with what we hear, what and whom we surround ourselves with, and what we say to ourselves. It's our daily choice. Think like, act like, train like the runner or the person that you want to become. The responsibility of being a holistic coach includes sharing those insights with one's athletes, but more, it involves shaping a similar successful process for the involvement of the body, mind, and spirit of the athletes one is privileged to coach." Al was so privileged to have coached each and every one of you who are here today, each and every one who are not here, each and every one who have already passed from our lives, and each and every one that may be listening to us today. My 11 years were some of the most enriching years that I've ever had in my life. Al Carius and the runners of North Central College saved me. So Al, it is with all of our privileges to be coached by you and to coach with you. Thank you to my everlasting friend. Thank you.
Coach Frank Grammaroso, Grammy. Grammy was hired in 1983 as a part-time coach, paid $900, is that right, Grammy? $900 as a part-time stipend coach, and then he became the full-time assistant coach in 1985. He was hired essentially to do all the administrative work that Al did not want to do or was not good at doing. And you guys know that. Sandy, Lass, Klawiak, you know that, all the other people. But what Frank brought was the additional track and field experience needed that allowed us to win the first national indoor and outdoor titles in 1989. The dynamic duo that were inseparable. This combination paved the pathway for unprecedented era of national level success, regional success, conference success, and in-life success. Coach Grammaroso.
Can't see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm glad Pope mentioned about lessons, because that's what I want to talk about. In our pursuit of personal best in cross country and track and field, we learned many, many life lessons. Al taught us about core ethical values that build character. His standards of family, church, education, and love built winners in life. Al often quoted Jackie Robinson, "A life is not important except in the impact it has on others' lives." Al's life lessons went far beyond North Central cross country and track and field. He reached hundreds of students teaching in his psychology of coaching or his leadership ethics and values in sports. For over half a century, Al lectured to thousands of people at coaching clinics, the Lions Club, Rotary, JC's, Kiwanis, Exchange Club, and religious communities. Do you remember all of Al's learning spaces? Team meetings in the classroom upstairs, lessons about culture, discipline, leadership, ethics, and values. Lessons on this indoor track. Remember, buried under this surface is the old original 3M green poured urethane track in the country. After 2010, lessons became in the classroom in Res Rec and his office in Res Rec, his office in Myrner. There were lessons in the Martin Mitchell Mansion property, then at Lincoln Park, where we did our intervals, Four Lakes Hill, Blackwell Hill, Rotary Hill, all learning spaces for building confidence, resilience, perseverance, chemistry, team dynamics, objective feedback, and synergy. Over the years, we learned about inspiration, stability, self-awareness. In the many offices here, the stadium offices, the Res Rec when it was built, those were all his classroom learning spaces. We heard about stories of Ted Hayden, quotes from John Wooden, Phil Jackson, Billy Graham, Emerson, E.E. Cummings, good to great, it's you against you, lots of little differences, the law of specificity. Al taught us about empathy, passion, personal growth, the container theory, 4 parts of a race, stepping stones. Before there was an outdoor track, Al would ask his athletes, raise your hand if you can drive, to practice to an off-campus facility. The lessons were leadership and teamwork. Then came the brainchild of Al, Ron, and Hank Gunther. The Spirit of 76 provided lessons of determination, cooperation, and citizenship, leading to the miracle in Naperville. It's on the wall in the hallway. That was the building of the football stadium, the bleachers, the stadium press box, the all-weather track surface, baseball dugouts, using the sweat equity of faculty, staff, coaches, student athletes, and friends under the direction of Larry Gregory, Dick Worley, and Don Deachin. Lessons learned at the summer picnic, the volleyball game, cooperation, respect, the knowing. There was the red line of balance in the back door of Myrner, then in Res Rec locker room. The annual golf outing, the message was, it's not about golf. Building lasting bonds. Every day is meaningful. You are part of every experience that you have and every person that you meet. There were numerous lessons on responsibility, integrity, honesty, self-control, and conflict resolution. Some of those lessons came on a Sunday, walking down Meadowlark Lane to explain to Al that you were involved in a weekend incident on campus. He wanted you to know before he came to the office on Monday. A classroom on the road, minibus talk, van talk, coach bus topics on perspective, purpose, the comparison trap, power of the subconscious mind, psycho-cybernetics, servo mechanism, we heard it all. Dealing with success, dealing with failure, You can win in losing, and you can lose in winning. Delayed gratification, choices, self-growth, self-mastery, intrinsic motivation. Let it happen. Don't try to make it happen. Al highlighted powerful life lessons from movies. Bagger Vance, Finding Your True Authentic Self. City Slickers, Cowboy Curly's The One Thing That Truly Matters to You. Your happiness, your purpose. Live in the moment. And Al's favorite, Groundhog Day, the personal transformation through selflessness, compassion, and a positive outlook. Think like, act like, train like the athlete or person you want to become. Many of you took these lessons to the weight room, on the runway, in the throwing cage, on the track, and into the streets on runs like Four Corners, Benke's Corkscrew, Olson's Lane, Prairie, Modaf, Trillium, Nabisco, Al's Pizza, Herrick Lake, Donata, Morton Operatum, and the Cookie Run. Setting goals, training your brain, self-discipline, self-discovery over and over, being flexible and adaptable, hitting curveballs, creating a sense of ownership, accumulation over a long period of time, making most of your God-given talents. The morning run. Have a GREAT. Have a great day, boys. The three most important words relating to long-term success of a program are culture, culture, culture. Senior day at the park. Gratitude, kindness, self-reflection. The essence of life is growth. Growing is the fun part. An additional lesson from the movie Hoosiers, focusing on fundamentals and perseverance. 5 players on the floor, functioning as a single unit, team, team, team. No one more important than the other. Coach Norman Dales. And I want to close with a phrase from Tony Evans that Al used to recognize God's presence and work. If all you see is what you see, you will never see all there is to be seen. Thank you.
Brent Carius is the oldest son of Pam and Al Carius. He literally grew up on our campus here at North Central College, watching his father coach and teach, and he's a middle school teacher right now in Naperville, following in the footsteps of his father and helping shape the young lives. Brent?
All right, I'm going to try to keep this nice and short the way my dad would. Don't worry, as he did in his class, I've got a timekeeper. Sam will be here to keep me in check and make sure I keep going. I can ramble a little bit, and there's a lot to say. On behalf of my entire family, I want to thank each and every one of you for your kind words, your messages, your prayers. A special thanks to Jim Miller and North Central College for making this celebration possible. It has been amazing to see just how far my dad's influence reached and how many lives he touched. You've all been sharing stories with us about how much he meant to you, and I want to tell you how much you all meant to him. See, this place was my dad's second home, his safe haven, his church. He considered every one of you to be part of his family and truly believed that we are all a product of every person we encounter. I grew up right here, and I just absolutely loved watching my dad in his element, coaching, mentoring, and preparing college students for the real world. His influence on his athletes and on everyone around him is what inspired me to become a teacher, elementary school. Back check. Just giving you a hard time, Jim. He's an inspiration to us all. I can only hope to have as small a fraction of an impact on my students that he had on his. To all the student athletes and coaches who welcomed me and my family into your North Central family, thank you. Thank you for letting me tag along on bus trips, join in on morning runs, fill in the circle during team meetings. And a special thanks to all the babysitters out there. You had a tough task with Sam. A special thanks to Mahesh. Thank you for falling on the sword for all of those times where we got in trouble for spitball fights because we had convinced you that our parents allowed them in the house. But see, there was an unwritten code here at North Central, and everyone here knew it. What happened at the college stayed at the college. If anyone asked, we never played on the pole vault pits. Most definitely never jumped off of that balcony. When asked how many Tootsie Rolls you had off of my dad's desk, the answer was always just one. And the most important rule of all was to never mention to Mom if you caught him napping on his couch in his office. See, there were many life lessons that we learned from him, so many that we learned here within these walls. Many of the coaches became parental figures to Sam and me, guiding us in ways that, well, our dad couldn't. For example, Jim Miller. I'm going to put you on the spot again. You taught Sam a very valuable lesson about impulsivity. See, Sam as a kid, if he saw something, he wanted it immediately. And one day he spotted a large cardinal statue on Jim's desk. Now, if it were my dad, he would have taken one look at Sam's face and handed it right over. But not Jim. Jim needed Sam to learn a lesson about the real world. So he offered Sam a trade, the Cardinal for a Hot Wheels car. And Sam immediately took it. Only for Sam 1 hour later to just find himself staring back at his Hot Wheels car on Jim's desk. He had to have it back. So Sam had to learn it the hard way because Jim wasn't giving in. Another valuable lesson learned was that we just weren't responsible enough to be left unsupervised running around Myrner. Frank helped us learn that lesson the hard way. Right, Sam? See, Sam and I, unsupervised, thought we could maybe dunk a basketball by jumping off some items to get there. And he ended up with a broken arm. And when Dad came out, we actually saw a little bit of Ken Bopejoy come out in him. So you had an influence on him too, Ken? Sorry to throw you under the bus, Frank. You were a monumental figure in our dad's life, looking after him until his very last moments. We always joked that you were his work wife, keeping him grounded and in check. Dad was that visionary. He had the ideas, but Frank was the one who knew how to get things done. Speaking of Ken Popejoy, those two were just the most interesting and wonderful friendship imaginable. They were fire and ice. And it reminds me of so many things that the family's been talking about over the last couple of days, and just how he brought us all together. You know, people that we could look at each other and think, could we ever become, best friends? We're so different. But that didn't matter to him. He loved everybody. Dad was the calm and nurturing support, like a mother bird. And then there was Ken, who followed up with some more colorful language and even sometimes some props, such as a stick. You both taught us that lesson that there's more than one way to motivate a person. I wish I could stand here and go through all of the names of every single person who helped look out for my dad. But the list just goes on and on. We all helped him because how could you not? He loved us, and we all loved him. We are the product of every person we encounter. And he modeled that belief every single day. My dad taught us many lessons, but I'll stick to two. How am I doing on time, Sam? All right, so two profound lessons from my dad. The first is that love is the most powerful feeling there is. He believed that God is love, and it didn't matter who you were or where you came from or how fast you could run. He loved you. My high school coach, Kevin Rafferty, posted on social media just last week, and I loved it. He said, if you ever saw my dad out on a cross-country course with his team, you would never recognize who the fastest runner was or who the top athlete was, because that didn't matter to my dad. Every person mattered. He loved everyone the same. He gave his time and attention to everyone that walked into his office, and I loved watching the influence that he had. This reminds me of one of his favorite movies, Groundhog Day. See, that was always an official family holiday in our house, and my dad never laughed louder when he would receive his annual voicemail from Paul Crumrine, or Ned Ryerson. As his kids, we knew to expect a voicemail that day of another voicemail recording to hear from Paul Crumrine. He used to refer to this movie as a spiritual movie, and we would kind of laugh and say, explain to us how in the world Groundhog Day is a spiritual movie. And he did. He explained the lesson that Bill Murray's character learned was to live your life for others. It's not about what the world can do for me, but what I can do for the world. That was who my dad was. He was an angel on earth, our number one fan, our own hype man in our corner, supporting us in any way he could. The second lesson that stands out to me is just the fact that he understood life is a journey. Embrace the process, the ups and downs. Don't get lost worrying about the outcome or the unknown. I found his journal during his last weekend with us, and on one page he had 2 races that were marked with a red pen and a star. And so we talked to him about it. He had been trying for years to break 4:10 in the mile, and he couldn't. And as going through his diary or his log, we noticed he was quite hard on himself for failing to hit his goal after so many attempts. But then one day, after staying up late with a friend, eating cheeseburgers as he confirmed on his last day, and then sleeping at a fraternity house and woken up at 5 o'clock in the morning, he went out that day and he broke 4:10. He said there was absolutely no reason he should have been able to run that way. He did everything wrong leading up to the race, and he couldn't figure it out. And then not long after that, he was invited as a last-minute fill-in at the Detroit Invitational, and he ended up beating the future Olympian Jerry Lindgren, breaking 4:10 again. And those were the 2 races that were highlighted and starred. And he said, and there was a note that said this was a psychological breakthrough for him. He had discovered the secret He realized that it's not about the workouts, the times, the places. And that last day, he jokingly said, all of those workouts that I did were stupid. They were silly. I came up with them. It was the passion, the enjoyment of the process, of the journey. It's not about the external, materialistic things. It's about love, the relationships, and being the best version of yourself that you can be each and every day. Enjoy the process. It makes me think back to the few morning runs that I took part on. It was incredible. You wanted to be a part of it. You wanted to be up at 5:30 in the morning to go join your brothers, your team. It was fun. Culture, culture, culture. He created a culture. The songs, the games, the trivia, Mr. Temperature. It was fun. And that's what made him special. Everyone wanted to be a part of it, and he wanted everyone to be on that team. His team, his family. We're all the same. I know, like many of you, I will miss his daily words of wisdom, his motivational pep talks, his laughter, his calming, positive presence. But I'm glad that he is in a better place. But now it is time for all of us to carry on his torch, to spread his light, his wisdom, and love to others. Love everyone that we encounter on a daily basis. And as always, like he said, run for fun and personal best. I love you, Dad.
Reverend Don Borling, in typical Al Carius fashion, was recruited to coach the cross-country team for years as the spiritual coach. He did so with wisdom and grace and perspective. Don is the father of a two-time cross-country All-American, Jeremy Borling, who is still working at the college and has helped us put together this day. Reverend Borling is going to speak. When he's done, then we're going to have a song right afterwards. Reverend Borling?
Well, whoever put this program together was smart. Put the preacher last, because everything else has been said. I remember with my son Jeremy, who ran here and works here, and I'm so proud of him that we sat in Al's office years ago when Jeremy was trying to decide where to go to college. And Alan talked to him for a little while, about 2 hours. And after we were done, Jeremy said, I'm going to North Central, and that was the beginning of a beautiful journey. Al is often referred to me as his spiritual coach. Well, I'm not. He was my spiritual coach. You know, we come here from many, many different religions. And without even having to say the word God, without even having to preach, Al has taught me over the years that somehow when that higher power and the human spirit come together, that's exactly where God lives. Al was able to see that power in ordinary people in majestic ways. And somehow, some way, he has been a life changer, even for people like me that weren't that a big part of his life. I remember 2 days before Al passed, I was at his house, and one of his little grandkids was there. And he ran out the door into his grandmother's arms. And Al said, "You know, Don, I have lots of stuff. I have plaques and trophies and championships." But he said, "You know, Don, now I'm trying to think of what I've left behind." Because that's what life is about. When you leave this world, what have I left behind? And look what he has left behind. He has changed lives, even people like me that weren't there very often. And so today, Al, thank you for teaching me and others that somehow, some way, this higher power lives in common, ordinary people like you and me. And so, Al, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. And may the good Lord give you everlasting peace. Thank you for being you. Amen.
Hi, I'm Jim DiDomenico, and I'm proud to have been a member of the cross-country and track teams from 1982 to 1986. And it was 1980-something when Al came to me after hearing that I played a little guitar and asked if I knew Bob Dylan's song, Bob Dylan's Dream. Before I even had the chance to answer him, he confidently serenaded me with the song's opening lines. While riding on a train going west. And after he was finished, I said, "No, Al, actually, I've never heard that song." Anyway, he really wanted me to learn the song, and I would routinely hear him in places like the morning run. He'd come running up behind me, while riding on a train going west. And then he'd add, "Jimmy, you gotta learn the song." Anyway, fast forward about 35 years, when I called Al to tell him just how much he meant to me and how I appreciated all that he'd done for me over the years, and that I wanted to give him a little something back. So I walked into his office about 2 to 3 years ago with my guitar in hand, and well, I can't describe how good it felt to finally play him Bob Dylan's Dream. He was happy and emotional, and he told me how the song was really about looking back on the most cherished friendships that we have in our lives and wishing we could relive those moments with those people again. And Al always spoke about the invisible bonds that connected us all, and I believe Bob Dylan's Dream captured that notion perfectly for him. It's all right with you, I'd love to play Al's favorite song for him one more time. I love you, Al.
While riding on the train going west, I fell asleep for to take my rest. I dreamed a dream that made me sad, concerning myself and the many friends I had. With half-damp eyes, I stared to the room where my friends and I spent many an afternoon, where we together through many a storm, laughing and singing to the early hours of the morn. By the old wooden stove where our hats were hung, our words were told and our songs were sung, where we together, whether near or snow, talking and joking about the world outside. with haunted hearts through the heat and the cold. We never much thought that we could get very old. We thought we could sit forever in fun. Our chances were really 1,000,000 to 1. As easy as it was to tell black from white, it was all that easy to tell wrong from right. Our choices were few, but the thought never hit. The one road we traveled never shattered or split. How many years has passed and gone, and many a gamble has been lost and won, and many a road taken by many a friend. Each one of them we'll soon see again. I wish in vain that we could sit simply in this room again. $10,000 at the drop of a hat, I'd give it all gladly if our lives could be like that. $10,000 at the drop of a hat, I'd give it all gladly if our lives could be like that.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you so much. When you get a chance, read the lyrics of that Bob Dylan song, Bob Dylan's Dream. Read the lyrics. Find out why he loved that song so much. And it'll give you a little bit more perspective and meaning. Okay. Well, we got one more lap. We've got one more chance to pay our tribute to our great friend. Okay, house cleaning. This is what we need to do. This is what we want to do. We're going to go out and we're going to ask everyone to come down as you're able and proceed out the garage door and go through the plaza, safely down the hill by the video scoreboard, walk down by the starting line. Coach Grammy, we're going to have you lead everybody walking down, and any other coach that's coached with Al during that time, please go up front. When we all get down to the start line on the home side, that's when we will have Frank start us all with the all set, you bet. Everyone take your time, take the lap as you need to. We would like to ask if you would like, all the alums, all the people, Steve Woltman's going to take a photo from above. And we'd like to be able to do that at that time right before we start. So anyways, I won't entertain questions, but that's the deal. So make sure you stretch out, no hamstring pulls, nothing of that nature. Thank you all so much for being here today, and what a great tribute to a great man and a great family. So let's head on down to the track. You also can sit in the stands if you'd like. You take it. You got it.
Here. All right, I really did not. Where did you guys hang out before you got here? Good to see you, Bob. You know, I really did not get the gist of what this was when I was asked to speak, and they said something about the last lecture, and I kind of thought it was the last lecture of the year for everybody, okay? Then I delved more into it, and I thought, well, maybe President Hammond has sent a message through UAD that this is to be his last lecture, and he is not ongoing at North Central College anymore. And then I found out that it's truly, I just found out reading the last couple of days, in fact I think it was yesterday, that it's kind of a lecture for if you were going to die. So I don't know why they picked me, but I'm up here anyway, and but I do appreciate you coming here And I want you to know that I'm really most comfortable talking to track athletes and to coaches, but hopefully I'll have some kind of a message that might be meaningful to you as I speak here this evening. You might ask, why am I in this cap and gown? Because when I found out it was my last lecture, I thought I'd better wear this because this is the cap and gown, not the cap, but this is the gown that I wore in the fall of 1966. It is not this, I've worn it every graduation since. People have asked if it's been cleaned. I haven't answered that question. But it's really falling apart, and when they had the graduation outside, it's turned yellow and everything else. Now, this is not the original hat. The original hat I had got all frayed, and then the tassel fell apart, and Jerry Jim, you can correct me on this, but the tassel fell apart, and one day I found a gold tassel on the ground. I thought, well, that looks better than the black, so I picked that up, and then I think that means that you're a doctor. So for a while I was a pony wearing around a hat that had a gold tassel, and somebody finally informed me that was not the right tassel. So I actually got a new hat and got a new tassel, and I wanted to have a chance to wear this. This is indeed my last lecture. I only really wear the graduation, so I'll throw that up here. Second thing I kind of wanted to do is psychology, they think, call it the law of completion. When something that you've done in your life you've never really completed. And it's been haunting me. And some of my students that know me about these years, it's been haunting me through the years, because the first thing I ever did was at one particular high school, and I was to give the class gift to the school, and that's why I'm not going up on stage. Okay, I'm not going up there. But I was up on stage, and I was to send the class gift, and all day long, the difference between cockiness and confidence. And I was kind of cocky, bragging about what I was going to do, what to make this speech, and telling everybody to make it. But that's an insecurity. The reaction formation means you're scared to death yourself. I did not want to make that speech. So I got up in front of the group, in front of all my classmates and all the parents and everything else, and I went to the class group. And I tried to get the speech out of my mouth, but I want to get it out here today because it was kind of a relief of all this 32 years. And that is, picture with you, we have this year's graduating class. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to present to most people in high school. This American flag on the left is really significant. Now that was the speech. I could not remember it from a license if I stood like that. And luckily, the principal, Joe Ripley, was my target, and he whispered when I was into the school. So, anyway, I wanted to get these things out and start this speech here tonight. And, it is kind of a working thought. I don't know the word, but a thought-provoking thought, to think that this is maybe the last lecture that we want to say for the last lecture. I'm a Cardinal fan. I'm sorry for all the Cubs fans in here. And I kind of want to notice that with the Cubs, that they are last place in Cardinals and Coasters right now. And what is the saying that the Cubs fans say every year? There's always years. There's always years. And the thing is, something else is happening with that. I'm not going to do it for this one, that is, you never really see this connection here. And so, it's such a full is one of my favorite movies with Bill Murray in it. And in that movie, you notice that he doesn't trouble waiting till next year, until guarantee the next year. Bill Murray and Groundhog Day did not get a next day. There was no tomorrow. He, however, used that time very, very effectively, day after day after day, and reached what I would call philosophical maturity with his life lessons. He started out as a very selfish person, very selfish. But then through time, he developed self-discovery. He started out then he understood the most powerful form of motivation that there is. It has to come from within. And that is intrinsic motivation. And he found that, he found that. And he found a self-discovery, a self-motivation, and a self-mastery. He started to figure out what values he wanted to live by, what values were important to him, and he started to develop them. He started to become selfless. Because he started to think about serving other people with the time that he had, rather than just being self-serving. He came into self-love. Self-love is doing the right things on a daily basis, is just doing the right things for you. Self-love is doing the right things for you. You can do self-love. You can't serve others. so long, and you know how happy and good we have. And protected what we're doing. Now, let me go on, and again, I want to make sure we have time for questions and answers. And I could talk a long time and maybe not talking at all about anything that we have to listen to. But I want you to really recognize I'm only a practice. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I don't have great academic experience. I'm a practice and a coach. So put that into perspective in terms of what I'm saying. Take it when you're ready to talk. But I think that in my life, I'm not trying to change anyone else, and just a little bit of background with me. Something that gives me boundaries, gives me direction, gives me values, helps me immensely in my life. I am a Christian. And in my hometown, the Apostolic Christian Church is the church that I went to. They said I can say anything in the phone. So, a little bit of advertising here. It's my last day. And I am a Christian, and I went to the Apostolic Christian Church. It's a very, very fundamental church. I won't get into that very much. But, you know, it is a distant relative of the Amish. So you get the gist. Very, very fundamental, very conservative. What I really, really, really appreciate so much from that is, again, the values that I got from church. And those values were pretty similar to what I got in my home. And those values were pretty similar to what was taught in school. In a small town where there's no television, it was happy days, we were reinforced with the right, in my opinion, values that were very important in our life. Was it the way it was in the entire world? No. Very insulated, very isolated, but I'm very, very fortunate for that humble, conservative beginning that I had. Now, so from that, a few points that I would like to mention here. And, you know, first, I love this saying, and I believe it's Emerson. He said it a little bit differently than I am saying it. I don't have it exactly memorized, but Emerson made a statement something like, the hardest thing is to be yourself in a world that's trying to make you into something that you're not. I love that saying. It's powerful. The hardest thing in the world is trying to make you into something that you're not. You know, essence of life is trying to find out who you are, what your values are, and live consistently with what you believe in, not trying to be somebody that you're not. People spot phony. But you want to just be comfortable with yourself, love yourself, and be who you are to the best of your ability. So I think that's very, very important, because in this society, and I'm speaking like a 70-year-old guy, I'm sorry, I sound like my parents, I know, but I really believe I'm talking like a 70-year-old guy. I think it's much, much tougher for our younger generation to know right from wrong, to know directions, to have boundaries, to know what's important to them than ever before in the history of our society. Why? Because I believe our society is being bombarded by the media, by all kinds of different things, saying you gotta have this, you gotta do this. The junk food that's going into young people's minds, I think is very, very confusing to find out what is right. What is right for me? So I think it's a confusing time, but I think it is critically important while you're in college, and for all of us, and I'm still on this path, to really learn who we are and be comfortable and consistent with who we are. And if you are consistent, if your conscious mind is consistent with your subconscious mind, you'll go to sleep at night, very, very easily. John Wooden said that. He said, the softest pillow I ever put my head on at night conscious mind is consistent with your subconscious mind. You're living by what you really believe, and you feel comfortable with yourself. Finding yourself is a tough thing. You're going through the cafeteria line of life, young people. You know, you're going to like cafeteria up the top and just, hey, you're meeting different people. I like this, what this person says. I don't like what that person says. I like this, I like that. Okay, go to the cafeteria line. I like broccoli. I don't like, you know, asparagus. I don't like this. I like that. You're picking off different things that are for you. But it's important that you don't choose the same things that someone else does, but you're choosing for yourself to fit your personality and your life. And here you are. So, the next thing, now we'll get a little, activity in there. I like to do this. And I'll check it with you first. It will be perfect. And purpose in your life, knowing what's important to you, knowing what you want to do, knowing what goals you have. Now, whatever that is, you can be surrounded by people, coaches, friends, all kinds of people that can support you and help you and know the advantages that you're going to find when you get to your goal, when you get to a goal, when you define your purpose. Okay? You're going to be surrounded by people that can facilitate that path towards your goal. Coaches do it all the time. Here, if we do this workout, we can this is going to help us to get faster. Okay? So here's the trick. Now I'm going to have you do this. I want it deals with purpose. It deals with goals. It deals with, you know, what you want out of life. Okay, now, hear me. I'm going to be your coach. And I want you, okay, and I know how to get you to where I'm going to tell you to go. I know the shortcuts. I can reinforce it. I know what you're going to find there. I am excited about it. I've got so much to show